Hey, what's up guys? My name is Ryan with Golden Arrow Auctions, and today I'm going to give you my 12 tips to be successful on Whatnot. Before I jump into the video, please hit that thumbs up button and subscribe to the channel if you like this type of content. We're going to try to put out a video at least once to twice per week, and all of the videos are here to help you grow on Whatnot and to increase your sales in your sports card business. We make a few videos per week to help you increase your sales in your sports card business and to help you grow on Whatnot. So without further ado, let's jump into this video and let's talk about how you can grow your business on Whatnot. Now, whether you're a brand new seller who's just thinking about getting started on the app, or you're someone who's well seasoned, I believe that some of these tips will help you. Now, if you could do me a favor and comment down below what your favorite tip is, or any additional tips that you think I missed that other people may be able to learn from. My business has personally sold about 70,000 items on Whatnot, and to me, it's personally probably the best app out there in order to move as much product as possible. So that brings me to tip number one, and that is to be consistent. The thing that has allowed us to grow at a faster pace than I think others is that we were on all the time when we said we were going to be on. If we said we were going to stream 2-3 times a week, we were going to do that. And I think that's very important because you got to remember that the viewers on the other end are real people and they're interested in your show. They may like you, they may like your product, whatever it may be, they want to see it. And when you say you're going to be on, just like a network TV show or a football game, you want it to be consistent, because if you go to watch the 1 o'clock game and all of a sudden they say, hey, it's moved to next week, you would not be very happy as a viewer. So when you schedule a show, try to be there and be on time and try to be consistent. And if you do have to change it for whatever reason, try to inform your viewers just so they know they're not kind of getting left in the dark. Now, with that being said, I know it can be hard to get product on a consistent basis. We have that problem. We've sold a lot of items this year alone, and it is difficult to replenish. I completely get that. But what I would recommend you do is to decrease the amount of shows that you're guaranteeing people. And then if you decide that you're going to do some extra ones, just pop them up out of nowhere. And I think you'll have a better response from your viewers. My second tip is directly towards people that sell sports cards or Pokemon cards. That is to have clean product, clean top loaders, clean sleeves, and making sure the cards themselves are not damaged in any way. And if they are, to be honest about it and be upfront. Because at the end of the day, your customers are going to eventually receive those cards. And if they are damaged, they're not going to be very happy. And while you may make a little extra money in the short term because customers are being deceived, at the end of the day, they won't return and they may even leave bad reviews or report you to Whatnot. And that will result in you end up making less money at the end of the year, not more. So don't chase short gains and hurt yourself in the long run. Make sure you're always being honest with the customers. I know top loaders and sleeves can get expensive, so make sure you're buying from a wholesale source and you're not purchasing them by the box at Target or something. You need to make sure that you're buying them by the case at the minimum. That will greatly reduce your cost on supplies and will allow you to sell cleaner product so people are A, paying more, and B, much happier in the end. Nobody wants to get a card in the mail that is covered in hair or gunk or anything like that. My third tip to me is probably the most important tip out of all of them, and that is speed. Making sure that you're going at a fast pace and keeping the buyers and the viewers engaged. You know, we personally do 5-second sudden death, which I know is extremely fast, but if you're able to be organized enough, you can get to that pace and that level eventually. But even if you're not going that fast, just trying to make sure the show is staying at a nice flowing pace is very important. I see so many shows where I'll jump in and they'll be fumbling around for like 30 seconds in order to find another card to run, and everything just feels very bulky and slow. So try to be really efficient and try to have everything ready ahead of time so you're able to go at a nice fast pace for customers. At the end of the day, when you're viewing something, you don't want to waste your time either. Tip number 4 is shipping accuracy. Making sure that all of the items that the customers purchase are packed in accordance with who bought them. It can get sometimes tricky, so you want to make sure you are very organized when it comes to the sale. So whenever it comes time to ship, you're not constantly having to rewatch the video receipt in order to find out where every item's supposed to go. Now, something we talked about in our previous video, and you guys can check that out by clicking our channel, is that you want to have a Rollo printer or some type of thermal printer that will allow you to print all of the labels at once. That way you can just go through and knock them out at a much faster pace. And a little bonus tip on this one is to make sure that you're shipping stuff out at a timely manner and making sure the customers are getting their items quickly. It can be difficult because we personally do PWE, so the shipping process for that is a lot slower, and USPS also doesn't give a lot of tracking for that. So obviously you can only control what you can control, so make sure that whenever you have a sale end, you are trying to knock out the shipping within 1 or 2 days in order for the customers to end up getting their items in a reasonable amount of time. Number 5 can be easy or difficult depending on the type of person you are, but it is interacting with buyers and some of the viewers whenever they're in your show. You want to be able to talk to them about whatever you're selling. So if it's sports cards, you want to be able to talk about the latest games and the different players that may be doing well and any other type of news that may be going on with the sports and sports card world. Not being able to do that isn't necessarily a deal breaker, because if you have enough, quality product or whatever, I think people will show up regardless, or if the deals are extremely good. But having a personality and being able to talk to the customers and actually have a friendly conversation could definitely help increase your viewership and your retention and possibly increase your sales as well. Number 6 is another big one. It is to have your items previously already ready to go. You're not having to fumble around and try to find different things, but having everything already in an order that you're going to sell it in. And now when customers are requesting things in the chat, it can get a little more difficult because you obviously can't predict what they're going to request. But I would have some level of a base amount of things already ready to roll, just so you're not constantly slowing the show down. That kind of goes back to that one point of speed. You want to make sure that the show is flowing really nicely. So when things are previously already ready to go, already sleeved and top loaded, and some level of organization, that will help you a lot in increasing your viewership. Number 7 is definitely going to depend on your budget and your ability to buy sports cards or Pokemon cards or whatever it may be that you're selling. But that is to have desirable product that people actually want. So when you go on there and just sell base cards, while you may be able to sell some and you might even get a decent amount of money for it, at the end of the day, your viewership will probably be less because the product itself is not necessarily desirable. So if you want to increase your sales with that, make sure you're targeting players that people are really interested in, especially at the current time. So whoever's maybe doing really well at this moment, that's who you may want to target. A perfect example of that is when Wembanyama got drafted last year. If you had some of his cards, they would obviously bring a significant premium because he's a super desirable player and his potential is great. I wouldn't stress to make the quality of the product immediately better. That's something you want to grow towards. You don't necessarily need that day one. You just want to get your foot in the door if you're just starting to sell and whatnot. And you may need to do that with some lower quality. Completely understand that. But eventually, as you grow, it is a good idea to try to increase your quality. Running along with that point is tip number 8, and that is to hire someone to help you while you stream. Having help with you heavily increases your speed, and it allows them to find certain players that people in the comments may be looking for. That can greatly increase the price of a card. Because let's just say there's a few people in the comments looking for Ken Griffey Jr., and while it's not in your stack right there, you have some of those cards. You may be able to go get them and sell them at a greater premium because you have really interested buyers already in the chat. I personally, and we've personally seen, some cards go really high, even sometimes more than they're worth, only because a couple of the buyers in there are willing to pay that, and they just happen to really like that certain player. So you can never predict ahead of time who they're going to want, but you can definitely try to get some of the key players and some of the exciting players or historically great players that people may be interested in. A few examples are Shohei Ohtani, Kobe Bryant, rest in peace, he's my background, but guys like that people may be requesting in the chat, and while you're streaming, it'd be very difficult to find that if you're trying to make your show go at a nice pace. So having someone to help you and able to find that card on the spot would definitely greatly increase your sales. Now, obviously hiring help does cost money, so you want to make sure that you're in a position to do that. And if your sales are not high enough, obviously wait to do that. But another way around that is to have all your players organized, in alphabetically or by player or sport or even by team would help. And that would help you find those players at the time when they're requested. And again, I don't recommend hiring someone day one, but let's just say you have a friend that maybe has some stuff to sell as well. Maybe you can mix in some of their stuff to sell, and that would be your way to pay them back. Just a few different ideas there. Tip number 9, something I personally made a mistake of. Whenever I used to jump onto stream and things were going really slow at the first 20 or 30 minutes, I would sometimes hop off, and that is a terrible idea because at the end of the day, people want to go on and know that when they purchase something, they pay that upfront shipping cost, that they're going to be able to hang out and buy for a while and possibly stack up a ton of cards, which is good for you and them because they pay that upfront shipping price and you get to sell a lot more product. And nobody wants to jump into a stream, pay that upfront shipping, and then you jump off 20 or 10 minutes later because you didn't like the prices you were getting. So try to stay on for as long as possible. I would recommend at least an hour to an hour and a half and then beyond. We tend to stand for at least 2.5 hours or so, sometimes much longer. I think we've done, 4 or 5 hour streams before. And I think that will help increase your sales because when people come in to buy, again, they don't want to get basically screwed out of their shipping cost. You go on and buy a $2 card, shipping is $4 or $5 or whatever. People don't want to pay that upfront shipping price if they don't believe you're actually going to stay on. So again, try to go on for a reasonable amount of time because you got to think at the end of the day, if you were a consumer, you would definitely want to have at least an opportunity to possibly buy some more cards. And if you're jumping off after 10 minutes, I as a consumer would not personally want to hang out in that stream. Tip number 10 is more of a personal preference for me, but we don't swear during our streams almost ever. We try to avoid, any of the type of vulgar language or negativity towards really anything, to be honest. We try to stay very neutral. While I understand that may not be for everybody, and I'm not saying that's the 100% like foolproof way to go. There's plenty of people who swear up a storm on whatnot, and that's totally fine. But it's just personally not what I like to do, because I think sometimes we get people that are, with their kids or with their families, and I just don't think a lot of people want to hear that in our streams personally. But again, plenty of streamers do it, and I'm not even saying that it helps our sales in any way. It's just something, a personal preference of mine, in order to stay more family friendly. But if swearing is your style, that is totally fine, and I think there are plenty of people that do it on there. I think there is actually an explicit button you can turn on for your streams, so people have to verify that they're 18. I'm not actually sure how that works too well, but it's essentially allows you to filter out anybody that may not like that type of language. Number 11 is preference-based as well, and that is music choice. Some people like music with a lot of swearing, or that's maybe really intense music like heavy metal, but that's not for everybody, obviously, so you're gonna definitely turn off some buyers with that. But with that being said, if you have people that are fans of that, they may be more inclined to watch you instead of somebody else because of your music choice. So personally in our stream, we try to stick with more neutral music, kind of modern pop, modern rock. But again, that's kind of more of a preference thing. It's totally up to you on what you decide. But I do recommend using music. And I don't think, the people that do no music, unless you have a crazy great personality, I think it would do better if they had music on. And tip number 12, and my final tip, is to be yourself and to try to be authentic when you're on the app. I think a lot of people try to force a certain personality, even though it may not actually be genuine. We personally don't do the whole screaming and yelling thing in our stream, but I do see it work for other people. So just try to be yourself, and if that's the type of personality you have, you're a very eccentric person, then that may work for you, the whole yelling and screaming thing, as you've probably seen on Whatnot. But if you're more of a relaxed, laid-back person, it's okay to have a relaxed, laid-back stream. I don't think you need to change your personality in order to appease some idea of what a streamer is supposed to be. But again, that's completely based on who you are. So whatever personality trait you may have, just go ahead and be yourself on there. And I think that will actually work out better in the long run, because people will learn to like you and learn to like your personality and the way you interact with the chat. And inevitably, I think that will allow you to grow faster and to hopefully increase your sales. So there it is, guys. Those are the 12 tips I have for you to grow on Whatnot. I'm sure I'm missing some, so if you guys got any extra things to add, please comment them down below. Also comment down below your Whatnot username, and make sure you let me know which tip you're gonna try to implement on your own channel. I'm definitely gonna try to check out some of you guys, and I recommend everyone else watching this to check out each other down below as well. I wanna try to build a community here, so let's all help each other out and support each other down below. And if you wanna get 5% off your first purchase on Whatnot, click my link in my description. That also takes you over to my Whatnot page, and you guys can see how we do it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please hit that thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel if you like this type of content, and I will see you on the next video. Take care.